Issues and challenges faced by tour guides in Kundasang and Kampong Sayat, which is located along the west coast of Sabah, is the title of my paper. Sustainability of ecotourism depends on the expertise and the quality of services provided by tour guides. Tour guides are usually referred to as brokers or intermediaries in the tourism industry. In the ecotourism type of tourism, the tour guides consist of local communities who know the history and experience with the nature and also the cultural heritage surrounding them. Thus, you can say the tour guide is the first and also the last person a tourist will meet during a tour. What is the role of a tour guide? They control the flow of information and close the structural holes in the communication network. They try to maximize their human capital, which is actually the knowledge that they have related to the nature and the cultural heritage. They provide hands-on experience to the tourists so that the tourists can feel that they are also a local and get the inside stories from the tour guide. What are the benefits of having a tour guide? Safety of an individual and their families of the tourists will be guaranteed by the tour guides with the proper SOP followed. The uniqueness of the flora and fauna and cultural experience will be explained very well. The tour guide actually organizes and makes sure the tourists are hassle-free during the entire tour. And the quality of the entire tour will be enhanced by the tour guide. Problem faced by the tour guides in Kampong Sayat and Kundasang. What is the motivation that led me to these studies? Tour guides complain they work 24/7 for a very low and unstable income. They have no recognition or respect from other stakeholders like government, the tourism board, the tourists themselves, and also the private tour companies. Moreover, their demand is so seasonal, thus it creates unstable income for them. There is no proper employment contract on their safety, their security, and the well-being. Overall, the local community who works as a tour guide face a lot of competition from the tour guide appointed by the tour operating companies. Thus, their pay is very, very low. Why was the study conducted at Kundasang and Kampong Sayat, which was located along the west coast of Sabah? Sabah relies on its natural and cultural heritage to boost its tourism activities. Tourists who would like to make short vacation that does not involve the hustle of traveling long hours, just a drive away in a car or a four-wheel drive, and that does not cost them much money, would choose tourism location along the west coast of Sabah. Two well-known locations are Kundasang, located in the district of Ranau, and Kampong Sayat, which is located at the Cropper Range of Mount Kinabalu, Kota Belud. The aim to promote ecotourism arises due to the need of the youth to reduce youth mobility from rural to the urban area, and also to reduce poverty in the rural area by increasing tourism-based activities in these villages. So the entire research objective was to identify what are the issues and challenges faced by tour guides in Kundasang and Kampong Sayat, which is located along the west coast of Sabah. To look at the specific objective, we describe what is the current standard on the service provided by the tour guide in Kundasang and Kampong Sayat. Later, we faced by the tour guides in Kundasang and Kampong Sayat, and to provide suggestion on how to handle the issues and challenges so that tourism activities that lead to an increase in socio-economic status can be enhanced. The methodology of this study involves a qualitative study which is located at Kundasang and Kampung Saya. The data collection took place from the 28th of August 2020 to 31st of August 2020. It was observation and in-depth interview. The entire study involved 3 stages of methodology. Stage 1, the researchers themselves followed the tour guides to determine the standard in the service provided by the tour guides. Stage 2 involved formation of focus group and discussion on the issues and challenges faced by the tour guides. Finally, at stage 3, it required face-to-face interview with the village heads. A total of 15 questions were asked to probe the discussion and the interview. All the conversations were recorded and transcribed. Findings from the stage 1, where the researchers themselves followed the tour guide during their tourism-based activity. They found payment collected at the entrance, very brief advice on the behavior during hiking, and some SOP to be followed for safety of the tourists. The inflow of the tourists was very high because it was just after the EMCO. So the ratio of tour guide to tourists was very high and did not follow the SOP. The guides were able to communicate in the local dialects like Dusun, Kadazan, and also Malay. They were unable to communicate in other languages like English. Guides did not explain the intrinsic and also the extrinsic value of the flora and fauna due to lack of knowledge and communication skills. All male guides, none were female, but tourists consist of both male and female. There were no shops selling hiking equipments. Pathway for hiking was still very fresh, especially in Kampung Saya. Guides followed the stipulated time to start and also to complete the activity. Findings at stage 2 clearly indicates when discussion and focus groups were formed, language barrier was the main issue. The tour guides were unable to communicate effectively if the tourists were foreigners. Local, your guides are accompanied by the tour operator company guide, which makes the locals get a small portion of the guide fee. Many locals do not have secondary education and does not have a school leaving certificate. Thus, it is a barrier for them to get their own tour guide license. Competition between the villages and those from the tour company guides make their income low and also unstable. Itinerary prepared by the tour company is too compact until the tourists could not enjoy their entire stay. The tour guides were also not trained for emergency purposes, and they did not have any knowledge about the flora and fauna and the endangered species in the location of ecotourism. Findings at the 3rd stage, which involved the village heads, showed that trainings were conducted, but they were not consistent and a regular basis. Demand was too seasonal, thus villages cleared the land to plant vegetables, and this has created landslides. Demand in Kundasang was too high for homestay, thus lands are being cleared and houses, cement houses, were built without proper planning, and also the building did not have any cultural element or cultural heritage element in them. Villages have no extra increase in purchasing power because inflow of businessmen from outside the village to do business began to pour in. So recommendation is given on how to improve the situation. First, capacity building. There are inappropriate and insufficient infrastructure for training and giving continuous training for tour guides. Guides note that professional attitude and training is essential, especially to the villagers, to provide good quality. But there are no avenue for the local community to demand for such training. They are deemed not suitable because they do not have school certification. School certification is the entry requirement for the course and licensing. Thus, guides that originate from the local community Not only licensing has become an issue, but learning capacity and building capacity has been given the least importance. Thus, the guides are unsatisfied. Training that are not scheduled in regular basis. There is no consideration of imparting knowledge based on hands-on approach for those who do not have school certificate. The modules for ecotourism are not clear and yet to be created. Extra modules on niche tourism should be conducted based on the demand. Institution of higher learning should complement the location to make the knowledge transfer more effective. Postgraduate and undergraduate should do internship around 3 months in this area. The internship will work in two ways. Students can transfer knowledge to the guides. At the same time, guides can train them on the natural and cultural heritage. Duration of training should not be short. It must be in long intervals along the year. The delivery of the content need to be practical or hands-on. Since internet is not accessible in certain areas, information is questionable. Thus, infrastructure need to be upgraded. The working condition. The guides felt in the proper interview should be conducted to recruit guides from the destination. They should be trained, given license. This is like the taxi permit given to taxi drivers. Authorities should stipulate the license, the location where the guiding services can be provided. This can create demand and fair competition. Authorities should control the amount of license they issue. The guide is needed for a niche tourism. Added training will increase the quality. Thus, a mechanism should be established by the government and the local authority in association for tourists to contact the tour guides directly instead of going through tour company. Status of the tour guide. Tour guides are also known as cultural ambassadors. So they do not respect, they should be given the respect and recognition by the tourists, especially the domestic tourists. Up to date, there's no tourism policy or act that supports the dignity of the tour guide. It is the responsibility of the government or the tour company to create the awareness on how a guide should be treated. Safety and security and well-being of guides. There is no job security. Demand is seasonal. Low remuneration. They are not paid fairly. Their safety, especially when dealing with foreign tourists, are questionable. The guides do not get subsidized food or accommodation. Payment are delayed and no official receipt is given for transaction. The guides do not have medical insurance. Guides are pressured to take up assignments which they are not prepared. Operators pressure the guides to convince the tourists to buy products from them and stay in their accommodation. If the guides fail to convince the tourists, they will lose their extra income. The villagers promise the guides that the accommodation has the promised facilities. When tourists arrive, the facilities is not up to date. This disrupts the mood of the tourists and will later take it out with the tour guide. They reduce the payment given to the guide. Tourists like to disobey rules and regulation and put all involved in danger. Domestic tourists have little faith with local guides. So the local guides needs to have a proper SOP on their safety and security and the well-being. And this can only be done by the cooperation of the government, the tour company, the institution of higher learning, and also the local community. Thank you.